Ryan's eyes scanned through the files, skimming through the content for the third time. Once she was sure there were no mistakes, she passed it to Rosie, her team member, with a note. Make sure you keep it yourself during the meeting. There's no room for mistakes today, alright? She spoke softly, but her stern voice held the underlying seriousness. The meeting with Caruso was crucial for the company's future. If they managed to get their hands on the deal, the Park operation would progress tenfold. Hence, Park Chaman, the CEO, had handed the responsibilities of this project to his trusted employee, Kim Wyan, who was also his wife. This very opportunity was given to her based on her unmatchable skills and dedicated work ethic. Her wifey privileges played no role in it. Though some people love to believe her progress was solely because of her title as the CEO's wife, neither Ryan nor Jimin paid any heed to them. They were unwanted noise in the background, and the power couple bore the trait of noise cancellation. Daisy, the presentation was your responsibility. I hope you have done your part. She asked, leaning down to glance at Daisy's laptop where she was reviewing it for the last moment inspection. Don't worry, Ryan, everything is sorted. This project is ours. Daisy beamed, a reassuring smile playing on her lips. This gave Ryan a little boost in confidence that everything would be fine. It should be. She and her team worked day and night for it. Any mistakes would not only jeopardize her job but also crack the trust of her husband. The meeting room was filled with tense energy. The Caruso brothers sat beside each other, looking every bit confident men, like they knew the power they held over everything. Jimin sat beside them, looking oddly calm from the outside, but he was as unsettled from the inside. It wasn't his first time dealing with international clients, but this time he felt a little conscious. No mistake should happen. He looked at Ryan, who looked a little nervous. A reassuring nod from him brought the smile back on her face. She took a deep breath and signaled him to begin. Shall we begin, Mr. Caruso? He asked, turning towards the brothers. With an approved nod from them, the meeting began. Ryan opened the laptop, which was already connected to the projector. As she looked at the screen, her face paled. A blank page. She skipped to the next one, a blank white page again. The presentation was gone. The graphs, the logistics, the budget, everything she had prepared by losing her sleep at night was not there. Her throat parched, but she didn't let the panic get to her head. Maybe she opened the wrong folder. Please give me a moment. Her voice cracked slightly, lips curled into an apologetic smile. She went through all the folders, but the presentation was not there. Seconds ticked by. Her anxiety grew stronger. One glance at Daisy and she knew they had done something that they weren't supposed to do. They made a mistake, a huge mistake that bore harsh consequences. Daisy, where's the presentation? She hissed under her breath, loud enough for only Daisy to hear. Daisy swallowed in fear and ducked her head down in shame. Ryan's jaw clenched at the lack of verbal response, but she remained calm. Panic would make the situation worse. Where are the backups? I asked you to keep at least 2 copies of the presentation. Where are they? Daisy only lowered her head more. Ryan twisted her hands on her side. The acid in her stomach sheared a burning part to her throat. Could it get any worse? Is there a problem, Mr. Park? One of the Caruso brothers asked Jimin, unnerving her more than she already was. As her gaze collided with Jimin's, her heart slammed against her ribs. His eyes held questions she had no answers for. Maybe she did, but if she said it out loud, it might scar his reputation, though the damage was already done. Oh, the presentation. She trailed off, feeling needles breaking her throat. His anticipating eyes weren't helping much. All we can see are blank pages. Was your team not prepared enough? The Caruso brother, who was silently observing everything, spoke. His tone was cold, but there was a hint of underlying sarcasm which slashed through Jimin's pride. Business demands no loopholes, and here his team had left no chance for others to mock him. I'm afraid this is an unintentional mistake, Mr. Caruso. My team is very responsible and hardworking. They have been working day and night for it. But it seemed the rude Caruso brother wasn't buying any of it. He flickered a glance at his wristwatch and stood up. The sound of chairs scraping against the marble floor filled the room as others joined up after him. It was really nice meeting you, Mr. Park, but I expected a little professionalism from your side. Smoothing a hand down the bespoke blue suit, the rude Caruso brother walked out of the meeting room. His brother followed, signaling Jimin to walk along with him. They left, leaving thick tension lingering in the air. Miss Daisy, may I know where the presentation is? She snapped after the door clicked shut, her voice rough with resentment. Daisy fiddled with her fingers, her head low, her shoulders hunched with fear and shame. I accidentally deleted it. Her voice came out as a mere whisper. Panic laced her tone. She was scared of the consequences of her actions. Accidentally, she scoffed in disbelief. Let's say you deleted it accidentally, then where are the other two copies I asked you to keep? Did they vanish on their own? The sharpness of her tongue made Daisy flinch. Vine had always been a person of self control, who always kept her emotions and tongue in check. Her sudden outburst scared everyone present in the room. I thought we wouldn't need it, so I decided to act against my orders. She shot back sharply, her patience wearing thin. She exhaled loudly, rubbing a hand on her clammy face. This had gone on at so many levels. Just pray Mr. Park doesn't fire you, which I think is impossible now. She turned on her heels and walked out of the meeting room, slamming the door shut. The pleas of Daisy fell on deaf ears. She walked down the hallway, looking for Jimin, tensed and restless. She knew how important this deal was for him. She also knew he would be enraged after whatever had conspired back in the boardroom. She found him talking to Caruso's brother. The rude one wasn't there. By his expression, she could fathom the complexities of the situation. They most certainly had cancelled the deal. As she approached, Caruso shook his hand with Jimin and walked away, leaving him standing in a stiff posture and heavy silence. Mr. Park, she called out softly, the weight of the situation pressing hard on her chest, constricting the air from her lungs. He didn't speak. She took a deep breath and stepped closer. Her hand shot out to his shoulder. Gemini, shut up. She flinched when he turned and yanked her hand off. Her body shuddered when his unraised eyes met hers. His jaw clenched with a force that sheared through his gums. She could hear the harsh grind of his teeth. Instinctively, she took a deep step back in fear. Do you know what you have done? His voice dipped into a dangerous whisper. Do you have any idea? He mocked me. He said my team is not good enough and that I won't secure any deal with such careless employees. His breath was ragged, veins popping on his head because of how hard he was trying to hold back his destructive anger. She swallowed, the accusation slashing through her chest like a sharp knife. He was conveniently bruising her pride for something she wasn't even responsible for. Mr. Park, listen to me. What is there to listen to? An excuse, a made up lie? He hissed with such bitterness it stung. I handed you the entire responsibility of this project. I trusted you, Kemwa, and no one else. And what did you do? You made a joke out of me. Though his words were nothing less than poison, there was hurt, betrayal, and shreds of broken trust concealed underneath. The unmet expectation, the anger and hurt that came with it, and the frustration of a wounded ego could be seen in the tension in his jaw, the furrow in his forehead, and the fury in his eyes. Jimin, at least hear me out. But he shook his head, turning his face away from her as if even looking at her made him feel defeated. Her shoulders dropped as the leftover energy knocked off her. Her eyes filled with tears the moment she looked around. Employees had gathered around them, witnessing the drama that unfolded. Humiliation and shame washed over her like a cold splash. She glared at Jimin through her red-rimmed eyes as he stormed past her and disappeared around the corner. If he were that angry, he could have talked to her in private, but lashing out at her in front of everyone, and that too in such a loud and belittling tone, was unacceptable, especially when it wasn't even her fault to begin with. He had attacked her self-respect. She wouldn't forgive him easily. Fine, I'm sorry. She heard Daisy's voice from behind, but she was too blinded by anger to pay any heed to him. She pierced through the crowd, heels clicking against the tile floor, each step heavy with resolve. I won't set foot into this office until I get my respect back. She made up her mind and left with determination. Boss or husband, she didn't care. No one had the right to talk to her in such a derogatory manner. Jimin sat behind his large mahogany desk, his face buried in his hands. His body was still tense with anger, a headache brewing behind his eyes. Everything had gone wrong. He lost his dream project. But that hurt him less. The person who was responsible for this hurt him more. Nothing could pain him more than the carelessness of his wife towards something so important. He was left disappointed and betrayed. The sound of his phone buzzing caught his attention. Though he wasn't in the mood to talk to anyone, he still picked it up. A text from Caruso. Our flight to Italy has been cancelled. We are staying here for one more week. Let's keep the meeting for another day. We want to do business with you. Jimmy read the text twice, the headache subsiding just a little, but the stinging feeling of humiliation remained alive. The mock, the sarcasm he faced today had been carved into his soul. He would get back to that rude Caruso someday. The pounding on his cabin door drew his attention. He sighed, ran a steady hand through his hair, and fixed his posture before he let the person in. Daisy walked in slowly, hands twisted at the sides, and head hunched as if she was ashamed to meet his eyes. Mr. Park, I need to confess something. Jimin spared a long glance at her, catching the way she shifted on her feet in nervousness. After what happened in the meeting room, he was not in the mood to listen to any explanation, yet he decided to let her speak. Go ahead, Mr. Park, she said, her voice trembling. The presentation, it wasn't Ryan's fault. I was the one who accidentally deleted it. She added and swallowed the note that formed in her throat. Jimin frowned, soaking in the information before his expression zeroed into a blank look. His stoic glare bore through her skull. His jaw ticked, hands twisted on the arms of his rolling chair. If Park Jimin hated anything, it was carelessness, and he proved it by lashing out at his wife earlier. Lashing out at his wife, his body went numb, reviving the harsh temperament towards her. How could he just burst out on her without hearing her side of the story? Was the deal more important than her? His blood ran cold. His anger, though it lasted for a few moments, had done the damage. It was difficult to undo what he had done. I'm sorry, Mr. Park, it wasn't intentional. Leave. His cold voice cut her off, sending a chill down her spine. Mr. Park, leave, Miss Daisy. Expect your resignation letter by the end of the day, or else I'll fire you personally. He spoke through his clenched teeth. His raised head heightened, but now it was directed towards the right person. Daisy's eyes welled up. Her body shook as a broken sob escaped her lips. But in the business world, respect had no negotiation. She turned and left, bearing the weight of the consequences. God damn it. He banged a hand on his desk, his palm burning due to the exaggerated force. Heaving a loud sigh, he reclined on the leather, his mind a restless hub of endless thoughts. Each came wrapped in guilt and pity. What have I done? How could I speak to her in such a manner? He groaned, tugging at the ends of his locks, but nothing could outdo the humiliation he put her through. Pushing back his chair, he stood up with a new resolve to fix the things, to apologize, to repent. With determined steps, he trudged out of his cabin. He walked down the hallway, straight to her cabin in the end. He pushed the door open without knocking, expecting to see her walking with a grumpy expression, but to his surprise, the room was empty. His brows furrowed, wondering where she could be. Hey, excuse me, he called out in desperation when an employee passed by him. The employee halted, looking visibly taken aback. Yes, Mr. Park, have you seen my wife? He asked, not bothering to keep up with formalities. The employee shook his head and walked away. Jimin exhaled helplessly and pulled out his phone to call her, hoping she would pick up. The first call went straight to voicemail. He tried again, but the same thing happened. Along with guilt, worry filled in. Where was she, and why wasn't she picking up his call? I should text her. Maybe she will reply. Crossing his fingers, he typed away quick, "Hey, pick up my call" to her. Then he waited. Barely a few minutes ticked by before the message was seen and three dots appeared on the screen. Stop disturbing my mental peace. Though it was a simple test, Jimin felt the tension behind it. It was as if she had launched a dagger at him. Where are you? He asked with desperation and anticipation visible in the way his eyes stayed glued to the screen. In hell, on the way to marry Lucifer. He wasn't supposed to laugh at that. He shouldn't, but her sarcasm was top notch. Why? Are you tired of your current husband? He replied, but it was left delivered. She hadn't seen it. Maybe she had, but she chose not to reply. He took a long glance at his wallpaper where she was smiling with coffee froth lining above her upper lip and pocketed his phone. He and his wife were poles apart. On one hand, he was short-tempered. He got angry easily, but it would only last for a short span of time. But on the other side, his wife had great control over his emotions. She rarely got angry, but once she did, it was hard to coax her. This time he had deliberately made her mad. Let rage cloud his judgment and act upon his wild thoughts. Now he was to bear the consequences. He had willingly stepped into the fire where she was the control and he was the besieger. He had no other option except to plead, plead, and plead until she decided to bestow mercy on him. Jimin stepped into the house silently. A bouquet of red roses graced his one hand while the other carried a few paper bags. He removed his shoes by the door and padded towards the living room. He scanned the living room with eagle eyes, terrified his wife would pop out from somewhere. But unfortunately, his angry wife was nowhere to be seen. With a defeated sigh, he made his way towards the kitchen, but it was empty as well. Where is the love of my life? He muttered to himself, his lips pressed in a thin line. As he turned to look for her upstairs, a choked shriek pierced from his throat. He stumbled back, barely bracing himself against the counter. His wife stood at the threshold, carrying a dark aura around herself. Gone were the tempting short nighties. She wore loose baggy pajamas that covered her whole body. Her hair disheveled in a mess, concealing half of her face, shoulders tight as if she were ready to fight. What scared him the most was the way her eyes bored through his soul, dark and blank, as if daring him to speak. His heart drummed so loud he feared even she could hear it. He swallowed, dread shimmering beneath the surface. How could she rile up his entire existence with just a look? He cowered against the counter when she walked past him to fill her tumbler with water. The drizzling sound of water filling in and the gentle hum of the refrigerator were the only sounds filling the air around them. Wine, he began, but it came out a mere squeak. Embarrassed, he cleared his throat and peered at her. Babe, she snapped. He flinched, eyes widening in horror. She had come to the stage of using crude language with him. It only meant one thing, that he had fucked up big time. Babe, please listen to me. His words died in his throat when she placed the tumbler down with an exaggerated force. She shot him a glare and stomped past him to the countertop in the center. She paced around, grabbing ingredients from the refrigerator to prepare the dinner. Jimin rose silently from his spot, too afraid to even make a sound. He observed her washing the veggies and then stopping to chop them. It was a bad idea to talk to her when she had a knife in her hand, but he had no other choice. Babe, he whispered slowly, making his way closer to her. I brought you these flowers, your favorite red roses. He smiled, but she ignored him straight away. I even brought you some dessert, pastries, donuts, croissant, ice cream. You like them all right? He tried again, noticing every little twitch in her expression. His breath hissed when her hand stopped mid-chop. Maybe the dessert had managed to crack her shell. He smiled at the thought, but his eyes widened the next moment when she grabbed a cucumber and cut it with exaggerated force. The shrill sound of the knife scratching against the chopping board terrified him. I think I should freshen up. He bolted. He didn't even turn as he stuffed the paper bags in the fridge and ran for his life. That was why he was afraid of her anger. The last time she was mad at him was 7 months ago, when she swore to never make her mad again. Guess destiny was cruel to him. The dinner was awfully silent, interrupted by the occasional clinking of cutlery. On usual days, Jimin would pull wine on his lap and they would eat together, feeding each other, laughing and in between as Jimin would try to sneak kisses at every chance he would get. Some other days, the dinner would be left untouched on the table as they would stumble their way into the bedroom to feast on each other. But today was one of those odious days that rarely occurred with them. Wine sat at the end of the table, leaving two chairs empty between them. The gap was to show her resentment towards his treatment. Her eyes were glued to her plate, not sparing a look at the starved man. Babe, he began, putting his fork down. His head turned towards her first, but before he turned completely towards her, please listen. Quiet. Let me have my meal in peace. Her cold demeanor made him feel helpless. He wanted to talk to her, to beg for forgiveness, but she wasn't ready to let him in. He fell silent and had his meal half-heartedly. He kept glancing at her, hoping to see a slight crack in her stance, but her anger remained unwavered. His wife, when angry, turned into a woman with a chip on her shoulder and a sword for a tongue. As Vine rose from her seat with her empty plate, Jimin scrambled on his step and blocked her way. Babe, I know you are angry. You don't want to see my face right now, but hear me out, please. He looked at her pleadingly, not in the mood. She rolled her eyes, acting aloof as if those pleading eyes didn't just waver her resolve, though slightly. Give me 5 minutes, please. She squalled at him defiantly. He implored until she gave in. Heaving a sigh, she folded her arms across her chest, her chin rising high, gaze almost drilling a hole through his head. On cue, Jimin began yapping. I'm so sorry, Ryan. I know you are hurt because of the way I spoke to you in the office. I'm deeply ashamed by my behavior. They cancelled the deal and I got angry and I lashed. He paused to see any sort of reaction from her. But Ryan wasn't looking at him. Her gaze was struck past him at the wall, on the clock to be precise. She remained strictly silent, just staring at the clock as if she were counting every second of it. No reason justifies my conduct towards you. Shouting at you was my first mistake. In front of everyone was what made it worse. I regret every word I said. Regret not giving you a chance to speak. I regret everything. A sincere apology is what I want to offer to you. I'm sorry, my lady. I promise I'll never repeat it. I swear on my life. He finished with a long breath, expecting a reaction from her, but her eyes, they remained glued behind him. Exactly 3 texts later, her head turned, eyes narrowing in a fierce glare, her lips parted. Jimmy didn't foresee the venom she spat. First of all, you. Second of all, how dare you talk to me like that, you holy fucking bucket of dog. Jimmy flinched, not by her malicious tone, but by the creative insults she threw at him. It might be his messed up head. She looked sexy to him, only if the situation were different. He shook off his not so holy thoughts and focused on the atrocious situation. I'm sorry, darling. To hell with your sorry. Your thick head 174 centimeter moron. His jaws dropped in shock. She deliberately hit on the nerve where it hurt, but was he in the position to fight against her? No. What can I do to make it up to you? I'm willing to do anything you want. He reached for her hands, but she retreated from his touch. The rejection hurt more than a sword slashing through him. Just leave me alone. I'm mad at you. I don't know about you, but I don't want to say anything I might regret later. She shoved her dirty plate in his hand and stormed upstairs towards their room. Jimmy's eyes followed her until she disappeared behind the door. He sighed defeated. Gifts didn't work, and apology didn't make much difference either. What else could he do to fix the things between them? To think about it and to give her space. He spent his time washing the dishes and cleaning the kitchen and dining table. The time he invested in re-evaluating his actions was worth it. He realized his sorry wouldn't make a difference after how he had maligned her reputation. He needed to do something else, something she wanted to do, something that would make her feel a little light in her heart. Walking down the hallway to his bedroom, he pondered over how to make it up to his wife, although he knew nothing would work as of now. His steps slowed when his gaze caught something. A pillow and blanket lay in front of the bedroom door. His heart leapt in horror. No, it shouldn't be what he was thinking. She didn't just kick him out of the room. He strode forward and twisted the doorknob. To his disappointment, it was locked. His fist pounded on the door. Babe, let me in. No reply. A piercing silence responded to him, but he refused to give up. Open the door, Van, please. He banged on the door, the wood vibrating due to the force. Stop it and move yours out to the couch. Her voice boomed from inside, loud, cold, and enraged. His face fell in sadness. He decided to give it a try one more time. Please, sweetheart, I want to talk to you. Let's not go to bed with a heavy heart here. He spoke softly, coaxing her like a little child. You will go to bed with a heavy head, I swear, if you don't stop bothering me right at this moment. That was his last cue, a sign for him to step back or the consequences that awaited him would unnerve him in a bad way. He grumbled under his breath, grabbed a blanket and pillow and walked away nonetheless. Oh, look at you bearing the aftermath of your actions, Park Jimin. He mocked himself as he adjusted the cushions and plopped down on the couch. That's why I never liked math. It is scary. He sighed, already feeling the discomfort kicking in. His back and neck would cry in the morning, but he brought it on himself. The next morning, Jimmy stepped into the kitchen to prepare coffee for both of them, a habit he had adopted after he got married. I just wish she would open the door this time. He sighed, brewing the coffee with practiced ease. As he walked to the fridge to grab milk, his eyes fell on the dessert he brought last night. The ice cream tub was empty. Donuts, pastries, and croissant boxes were half empty. A smile curled on his lips. She might have snuck in at night. A hope arose within, a hope that there were still chances to make amendments. As he prepared coffee, he noticed that the big bouquet he bought last night was divided into small sections. The floor now grazed the vases all around the house. My Spitfire, he whispered to himself, pouring the hot coffee in 2 cups and making his way towards the bedroom. This time, though, the door was unlocked. He stepped inside the dark bedroom. The curtains were drawn, restraining the sunlight from entering. Violet lay curled up in the seat, her breaths slow and even, implying she was in deep sleep. Jimin placed the cups on the nightstand and crouched on the floor beside the bed. He smoothed a hand on her hair and pressed a kiss on her forehead. "Sweetheart, wake up," he whispered in her ear, pressing a kiss on the side of her head. She whimpered and shifted slightly, but again went back to sleep. "Rise and shine, baby, wake up." He spoke softly, his eyes holding all the love of the world as he watched her sleepy face. She shifted, lay on her back, and slowly opened her eyes. When her gaze caught him sitting beside her, she unknowingly smiled, but soon her smile faltered when reality slashed through her stupor. She sat upright and rubbed her dizzy eyes. "Your coffee." He passed her the cup, but unlike other times, she just treated the cup and looked away. "No thanks, I can help myself." She tried to get out of the bed, but Jimin grabbed her wrist. She squinted her eyes at him, but his face retained the pleading, helpless look. "I'm sorry, Ryan, I really am. You might think I'm apologizing for formality, but I'm doing it because I'm actually ashamed. Because I know what I said and how I said it was wrong. If I could, I would have turned back time and undone everything. Please forgive me, or tell me what I should do to make it up to you." He packed with desperation. "You would do anything? Anything you say, baby. Strip." "Huh?" He blinked, dazed, contemplating whether what he heard was true or if he was hearing things. "What, huh? Undress yourself." She rolled her eyes. Taking the cup from him, she reclined back against the headrest like a queen waiting for her peasant to entertain her. A smirk tugged at his lips as he flung his sweatshirt off in one swift motion. "You should have told me you are in the mood for naughty time. I'm always ready, baby." She took a sip of her coffee, watching him as his fingers tucked beneath the waistband of his sweatpants and pushed them down without hesitation. "Wait," she interrupted when his hands reached for his boxers. "Hear your punishment first." Jimmy raised an eyebrow, his heart picking up his pace. He knew his wife, when angry, harbored a psychotic brain. He feared for his life. "Dance for me in it all. Only in it all," she declared with assertiveness, a smug look morphing on her face. Jimin blinked, tilting his head, giving her an "Are you serious" look. "I'll only wait till I finish my coffee. After that, you would get no chance to even speak to me." He bolted towards the bathroom and came back within a few moments, a towel hung loosely around his waist, reaching below his knees. "Ready?" She sank into the piles of pillows more comfortably when Jimin played a song on the music system. As a sweet melody filled the dark room, Jimin moved. He swayed his hips, waved his body, and seductively moved his limbs like a male bird luring a female bird in. Wine paused mid-sip, staring at the thirst trap unfolding before her eyes. Her breath hissed when he waved his torso like he was made of fluid, smooth and sultry. But what made her jaw drop was when he turned his back to her, threw his head back, and his hands untied the towel, parted the edges, and rolled his torso. The moon tattoo on his spine flexed along with his back muscles. God, this man was a tempting piece of art. Her grip tightened on the coffee cup, throat parched as she tried to swallow. The punishment backfired on her, but she couldn't deny she was enjoying it. He turned, tucking the two ends of the towel back to hide his modesty. He smiled, a flirtatious twitch that made her recoil. Heat pulled in her belly. The temperature of the room suddenly heightened. It made her sweat. He nibbled on his lower lip and sauntered towards her, his eyes sparkling with a bewitching flack of mischief. The song played in the background, the dance long forgotten. The world faded as their gaze locked on each other. Wine covered, her back met the hard cold wood of the headrest as Jimin bent down. His gaze flickered to her lips. 24 hours since he had last tasted them. They looked alluring and inviting. He leaned in for a kiss, but she brought her cup in between to stop him. He groaned in annoyance and darted a displeased look when his mouth pressed against the warmth of the ceramic cup. "Am I still not forgiven?" "I never said I would forgive you," she countered, standing her ground. "Seriously? You asked me to dance in it all," he shot back. "As a punishment. I never said I'd forget everything and forgive you." She raised her chin, squared her shoulders in defiance. "Then tell me, what do you want me to do? I mean it when I said I'm willing to do anything." She stared at him for a long moment. Shaking her head, she kicked off the comforter and rose from the bed, shouting at me in front of everyone when it wasn't even my fault, and then expecting me to forgive you and react like nothing has happened. She shook her head. "I can't, Jimin. An apology doesn't fix the damage automatically. Your sorry wouldn't bring back my reputation in the office. And if I love something more than you, it's my respect. I can't compromise that, Jimin." He stood numb in his spot, letting the words sink deep into his bones. After what felt like an eternity had passed, he spoke. Say it. I never took credit for someone else's work, and I don't think I deserve the critics either. I need an apology, Mr. Park, and the apology should be as loud as the disrespect was. She spoke, staring straight into his eyes. Sadness lingered behind their eyes, but a silent understanding passed between them. Get ready. The morning in the park corporation was chaotic. Employees filed in, chatting, walking, and catching up with each other. The altercation between their boss and his wife was the hot topic of the day. The commotion was silenced immediately as Jimin walked in, holding Ryan's hand. He stopped in front of them and scanned the area. Ryan tried to wrench her hand out of his hold, but his grip was tight. He squeezed her palm softly and gave a warm smile. Everyone, you might have witnessed what happened here between me and my wife. He commenced without missing a beat. It would have spread all around the office, right? That the CEO lashed out at his wife. Jimin, she whispered, twisting her hand in his hold. It wasn't her fault. Someone else did it and they got what they deserved. That being said, Ryan skimmed through the crowd. It didn't take her long to notice the absence of Daisy. Now I think it's time I correct my mistake as well. He turned to her and held both of her hands in his. I'm sorry, Kim Ryan. I shouldn't have said what I said yesterday. I'm deeply ashamed. I regret every word that came out of my mouth that hurt you in any way. As a boss, as a husband, I apologize with all my heart. Please forgive me, darling. He lowered his head and placed a kiss on each of her hands. She gulped the tears that stung her eyes. She looked around. The same people who witnessed the scene from the previous day was now looking at her with a smile. Am I forgiven, baby? He whispered when she didn't say anything. She couldn't. Her throat felt too tight. The man who had put her on a voice was the man she fell in love with. Yes, he made a mistake. Yes, he shouldn't have talked to her like that. But he realized it. He regretted it. He apologized. He repented for it. He made sure to put the crown back on her head. She smiled and nodded. His lips parted in a grin. With a smooth tug, he enveloped her in his arms, pressing kisses on her head. The room rattled with loud applause. I'm so sorry, my love, he whispered, his lips pressed against her ears. It's okay, you're forgiven. She replied, tightening her grip once before pulling back. Their eyes locked, smiles widening. Now you may kiss the bride, someone from the employees yelled, erupting in a chaos of laughter. Jimin chuckled and looked down at her. May I? Ryan nodded. Jimin leaned in and captured her lips in a shearing kiss. The grudges dissolved, only the love remained firm, the love that would last forever, no matter how many arguments conspired between them.